All right, let's continue with this factoring business. Again, this is one of those things, the more you practice, the better it'll get. So we're going to work our way through this. We're going to spend a couple of days. Hopefully by now you're at least starting to grasp it. I do not expect you to be experts right away. So let's see where we are. So here's our first one. First of all, I'm going to check for greatest common factor. I do not see one, so then we're good there. My box and X puzzle are drawn. We're going to fill in the first and last terms. So this would be 6x squared, and then this would be plus 5. So that's good. We're going to set up our X puzzle. I'm going to multiply 6 times 5, which is 30. So this is A, this is C. So we're multiplying A times C to get 30. And then B goes down here. Oh, I don't know why I wrote a B, but the B value is 13, or plus 13. So I'm going to make sure I put that these are positive or negative. So there's that. Now I'm going to solve my X puzzle. In order to solve my X puzzle, I'm going to list my factors of 30, which would be 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. So if I'm looking for everything to be positive, it looks like 3 and 10 will be what I'm looking for. So this will be plus 3, this will be plus 10. So then I'm gonna go ahead and substitute. I have 3x here, and I have a plus 10x here. I forgot my plus here. So now let's go ahead and factor out the greatest common factor. I'm gonna start with, let's do the column. So my column is, it looks like 3x would be the greatest I can factor out there. And then it looks like a plus 5. Now I'm going to work backwards. If I already have 3x, what do I have to multiply by to get 6x squared? This would be 2x. 2 times 3 is 6, x times x is x squared, so that works. Now because I already have 3x, it looks like this one is just going to be a plus 1. So when I write these out, now I have 2x plus 1 and, 3x plus 5. So let's check our work. So 6x squared plus 10x plus 3x plus 5. Combining my two middle terms gives us that plus 13x that we need. So that means this here is our two binomials. All right, let's continue. So first of all, looking for greatest common factor. 31 is kind of prime-ish, or it is prime, so I'm not going to have a greatest common factor there. But let's go ahead and set it up. We have our X puzzle drawn, we have our box, so let's take care of our first and last terms. Multiplying first and last terms, this is going to be tricky. We have 140, and then down here we have plus 31. So the product is negative, so that means we're going to need one of each sign. So we're going to need a positive and a negative. So we got to keep that in mind as we go through this. So our factors of 140, this is going to be tricky. So I have 1 and 140, definitely not what we need. 2 and 70. 4 and 35, 5 and 28, 7 and 20, and then 10 and 14. So we're looking for a sum of 31. And one has to be positive, one has to, so basically subtraction. So it looks like 4 and 35 is where it's at. So I have 4 and 35. Now we need to decide if my sum needs to be positive, that means the 4 has to be negative. So I'm going to throw that negative 4x down here and positive 35x up here. And I'm just taking a chance by putting them where they are. We can always move those or put them in any order as we need to. All right, let's do our row first this time. So as I factor out my row, it looks like 5x will be what I can factor out. And then for the second, or for that second row here, it looks like a -2. They're both negative, so let's go ahead and take out that negative here. The reason I did the negative now is because up here, this is positive. So that means this piece has to also be positive. That being said, 3 times 7 is 35. 5 times 2 is 10, and it's going to be a 2x. So let's write it out. 2x plus 7, 5x minus 2. So let's multiply what we have. So 2x times 5x would be 10x squared minus 4x plus 35x minus 14. Combining my middle terms, this gives me positive 31x, positive 31x. So that means that would be our two binomials. Okay, so this is the one we were working on. I found my factors, 4 and 35, but let's say I don't pay attention to the signs. Let's say I make this one negative and this one positive. So when I come over here, I put positive 4x, and then I put a negative 35x. When I look at this, I can see, first of all, in that first term, I would factor out, again, the 5x, right? That's safe to say. And down here, this would be a plus 2. So then when I go to do the other columns, out of that first one, I would factor out a 2x and then a minus 7. Okay, so let's see what happens here when we actually multiply these two. So if I have 2x minus 7, 5x plus 2, when I multiply, I have 10x squared plus 4x minus 35x minus 14. So when I go to combine my two middle terms, this gives me a negative 31x. I need it to be positive. So that's when you should go back and check the signs at this step. So you've got to be cautious of that. So that means this guy did not work, nor did this. All right, this is a good one. If we're given the area, which is this trinomial, we want to know the dimensions. So remember, the dimensions are going to be two binomials. Everything is positive, so it works out well here. So I'm going to go ahead and set everything up. I'm going to fill in my first and last. So 8x squared plus 15. I'm going to go to my x puzzle. 8 times 15 is actually 120, and then I need a sum of 22. So when I go to list my factors of 120, it's going to be a little lengthy. So we have 1 and 120, 2 and 60, 3 and 40, 4 and 30, 5 and 24. We're still going. 6 and 20. 8 and 15, and then 10 and 12. So they're both positive, which we've already talked about. So we know that we need to be able to add the two together. So it looks like 10 and 12. So when I come here, I have 10x and 12x. Now let's go ahead and pull out those greatest common factors. Let's go column this time. So I know for sure an x is going to come out of both of those. And we're going to go with a 2x. I think that's the largest we can get out there. We know it's positive, so this is going to be a positive value. It looks like the largest value I can get out of that is a plus 3. So now when I go to work backwards, 2x times 4x will give us 8x squared. 2x times a positive 5 will give us 10x, and let's check that last one. 3 times 5 is 15, so we're good. So then our two binomials would be 2x plus 3 and 4x plus 5. When I go to multiply to check, 8x squared plus 10x plus 12x plus 15. Combining my two middle terms gives me that 22x. So that means those are our two binomials.